This is Tyler with Legendary Vegan Art, and today I'm going to be practicing some life drawing. Now, I don't have access to a model, but there is a great video series on YouTube called the Croquis Cafe, where they have models that they've recorded in real time, striking a variety of poses for you for a variety of times. It's a great video series that helps you practice your figure drawing and your life drawing without access to a real model. I'm watching episode 167, and if you want to draw or watch along with me, the figure drawing segment starts at about 1 minute 40 seconds into the video, and I'm also going to try and include a link to a YouTube doubler so you can watch both videos side by side. So I'm going to be practicing drawing these. I'm using Manga Studio 5. So I've made this template here to divide my page into little squares. This is just a A4 sized 600 DPI page that I've divided into different segments for the different sections I'm going to draw. And I like to work right to left just because that's kind of how my handedness works. So I'm going to get started on the drawing in 3, 2, 1, go. So here's the first pose. I like to mark in, line for the shoulders, the curve of the spine, here's the hips, and the legs. Let's make this just a little darker, maybe a little bigger, okay. For the curve of the spine, I really try to exaggerate it a little more than necessary, because sorry, it's hard to talk and draw at the same time, but that's what I'm here for. When filling in the actual, body parts, blocking those in, it's easy to make that a little too stiff and, overcorrect. Very important to exaggerate the line so you can sort of, land at your target pretty much where you want. Wow, talking and drawing's hard. But there's some great poses and great models in this Croquis Cafe video series. I really value them. I like using this tool a lot. And just practicing this all the time, sometimes your drawings don't come out looking that great, but practicing a little bit every day or as often as you can really helps greatly improve your figure drawing. It's like coming out a little too big, and you'll see improvements before too long. You just have to tough it out through the videos, through the drawing sessions that don't quite turn out the way you want. It's just an inevitability of learning to draw. Not always going to do as great as you'd like. It's blocking the head. And through doing this a lot, you get to notice your own strengths and weaknesses. I tend to focus mostly on blocking in the torso, the legs, and don't give quite as much detail to the head and arms as I maybe should. Wow, these are some great poses. Leaning way back here. Once again, trying to make sure we get this where we want. One thing I found really useful is to block in the curve of the shoulders. Shoulders used to give me a really hard time. And also get the sort of angle of the torso, the way I've angled this in and angled this out. That's greatly helpful. Let's see, mark the line of the crotch there, the bust here. Bring the chin up a little. Well, that's pretty good. Marking this neck, shoulders. Awesome. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's really fun to see, who they get to be models, what kind of poses they're gonna strike. After you do this for a while, you get better at working from imagination, but it's always a good idea to sort of refresh yourself working with some actual models, doing things you'd never expect. Whoops, that doesn't look like anything, but we're moving on. In these 30-second poses, you just don't have any time to go back and correct yourself, which is good. But it's frustrating at the same time. Right. So there's some very challenging poses this week. Just marking these lines of the thigh. It's good to add more curvature to the thigh than you think it's going to need. That always sort of takes me by surprise. Let's see what we can mark in. Let's see, use this shin as a sort of level. Marking the knees. I think all I'm going to get on this one is a sort of pipe person, but that's okay if that's what it takes. I'm just trying to capture the pose. Get that hand in. Let's see, does his elbow fall about here? Okay. Start blocking the torso. There's some drawing books that I really consider essential to learning figure drawing, and one is Figure Drawing for All It's Worth by Andrew Loomis. Let's bring that in a little. It really taught me a lot about how to fill in a torso, what kind of marks to make when doing figure drawing quickly, and the sort of, oh boy, this is tricky, the sort of block-in mannequin I use is derived largely from the one he uses in his books. Let's get that. I'm not crazy about the design for the hips. He uses this sort of blocky square, and it's not working too well for me, so I use something a little different. I'm still experimenting with different things, but it's a wonderful, wonderful place to start. Great book. Every figure artist should have that in their collection. And let's see. Well, this isn't really coming out proportionate, but I'll just have to move on to the legs. So, paying attention to the negative space here, there's definitely a gap between the thighs there. One of my problems that I notice time and again is I tend to make limbs a little too thick. I'm not going to worry about that much at all in the 30-second drawings, but when I have a little more time to get things right, I am going to try and correct that a bit. So let's zoom out a little. As the drawings get longer in time, I give myself a little more space on the page and more resolution to work in. So we're moving on to the 2-minute drawings. I'm going to increase my brush size a little bit. Looks about good. Okay, 2 minutes. Here we go. So that's way too wide, and that's not curvy enough. Even though it's not that curvy in the video, like I said, you gotta exaggerate or else you're just not gonna hit your marks. And poses like this that aren't very curved, very highly posed, are tricky, because to get the subtleties just right. Bring this foot down a little further. This one not quite as low. Marking the feet and marking the arms. Head. Let's see, it's probably a little too big, but we can always trim it down a little. See, this shoulder falls about here, maybe a little lower. It's not the right angle. Pull that out a little further. Here we go. And we go, and it's resting up here. Okay, now I have plenty of time, a whole nother minute to block in the body. See, this shoulder comes out pretty far. Look in the waist here. I think I may be making this a little too wide. So one of my favorite areas to draw is the waist and hips area. It's where I think has the most visual interest. Let's lighten this a little bit. The butt a little. The thighs. Try and get these the right thickness. I'm not going to get the whole body in just 2 minutes, but I'm going to try to get all I can as best as I can. I really also like drawing the curvature of the calves, but in my enthusiasm, I tend to overdo it a little, and often subtlety is what's called for rather than my exuberance. Okay. This foot, it's pretty flat looking. This is actually pretty curvy. Not the chin. Okay. Draw it in the neck, and we're out of time. Next pose. Okay. I'm going to start with the head this time. Drawing a rough shape, and I'm going to mark the bottom where the feet go, so that way I can kind of work into the middle. Instead of just drawing from one end, drawing out, you'd have a tendency to overshoot your bounds. I've done that a lot, so let's see. Falls about there, using my sort of vertical guide. Entry of this leg connection falls about here in relation to the shoulders. It's a good way to use a visual guide. Let's curve this out. Torso comes about here. Paying attention to the negative space at the Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, that the neck and shoulders create here. I think I have it quite nailed, but I'm getting the idea down. That's important. Arm's still too thick. There we go. Bring that in. Alright, I'm worrying too much about little details. I'm gonna run out of time if I keep that up. Okay. This part of the hip comes out pretty far, so that this leg comes down fairly straight. From the knee, this bends in a bit. Get that shin. I seem to have overshot my drawing anyway, but not too bad. This comes out pretty sharp. Out. Alright, running out of time. Gotta wrap this up in about 10 seconds. I'm already losing it on the relative size of the legs here. Yeah, I lost it. Well, if I had more time, I would fix it, but I don't. So here we go, and mark that in. Is that about right? Yeah, okay, well, out of time. Number 3 of the 2 minutes. I really like how these videos have the model captured in real time instead of just showing a photo. That does make it harder, but that's good. And you really have to capture an understanding of the pose rather than just photographically copying it. Because that, you know, learning to copy a photo is a skill you can learn fairly mechanically, but it makes you develop a little bit more of an artistic eye to really capture the feel of a pose that's changing a little bit. So you get to make your own artistic choices on what to keep, what to remove. Well, that's nice. Let's mark that thigh about there. I'm already running out of space because I did what I just said I shouldn't do, and oh man, that's not right at all. Let's look at these lines a little more carefully. Well, I'm going over my template lines. It's still too thick. Let's pull that in a lot. And a bit of a negative space here where that foot comes in. Okay, I'm worrying too much about that. I'll come back a little later. Let's see, mark the bust about here. That line's not exactly right, but location's about right. It's gonna have to be good enough for now. You gotta learn to let go of things and just kind of get the big picture in these life drawing sessions, and that's very important. Let's try and mark in that thumb a little bit. Oh, it works. Let's try and get the fact that her neck is curved that way a little. Her face turned this way. The shape, the head's not really right, but I use this sort of cross shape to mark where she's looking. At the expense of detail. Marking a little bit of that hair, at least. At least in the 5-minute pose, I know I'll get to work on the face and expressions a little more, which is what I really like. Am I out of time? Yeah, okay. Here's the last 2 minutes pose. Here, it looks like shaping up to be a nice one. Here we go. Okay. This time I am gonna work within my bounds. Okay, so this is the feet. Gonna mark in this one. This one comes a little higher. Mark that about here. So you mark in the head, falls pretty close to this foot. Marking a rough head shape. And roughly between that, you've got our hips. Pull it here, these cross here. Our nice curved spine. Okay. Before I work on the arms, I just want to block this torso in. Using this sort of ribcage shape, you can really block those in really well. Get in the bust. Okay, now we can put in the arm without worrying too much about the rest of that. This shape across the body. There's a little more space here. We've got the torso, and then curves back out. I think I might have pulled that down too low. Here to the leg, where I've already marked everything. Alright. I think I've worked out some of my rust and some of my kinks. It's going pretty well. I like this. Let's see the stomach. Oh, it starts a little higher. I've exaggerated that line a little bit, but that's gonna have to be how it has to be. Let's get this neck in. Okay, this head's off, obviously a little too far over. Just repurpose that as the line of the head. Oops. Hitting too many hotkeys. Actually, that's not right at all. She's looking more this way. Okay. Get this leg before we run out of time. And we seem to be out of time. Well, that's good. We have to work on the 5-minute drawing. Get myself lots more. Whoops, too much. Lots more canvas space. Lots more resolution. Let's see if we can't key in it. Whoopsie. A little bit better. Here we go. Get a much bigger pencil. Bigger eraser while I'm at it. And 5-minute pose starting in just a sec. Sorry, I paused the video there to get some tea. Okay. Let's do this. Here's my expression. Trying to mark the head in a little bit better this time. Need to get the shape of her face a little better. She's got a very angular face. Very sort of rounded here. Get this. If I need to resize things after a little bit, I'm going to be just fine doing that. So here's the shoulders. This is a very unusual pose compared to the normal standing poses, which is good. So I am going to have to work sort of in bits and pieces here. Normally in a standing pose, it's very easy to figure out proportions, mark in your sort of guidelines where you want them to go, but it's going to be pretty different this time. So let's mark in the torso. One nice trick I learned is to use this sort of diamond shape for the top of the torso when they're sort of leaned far enough to see that, and it also helps get the shape of the shoulders just right. I think this comes in this line here. Get a bigger eraser. Comes in even further. It starts, yeah, this is about right. It's okay to just block things in for now. So where's the bottom of this? Let's get that. That comes in down pretty sharply, but it's obscured by the arm anyway. We have, looks like a very sharp turn up for the hips. Again, one of my favorite places to draw, just adds a lot of visual interest. Let's see. Now because this is greatly foreshortened, it's going to appear thicker than you think. Let's see. There's a line in here. Oops, that's not right. It's really refreshing after doing these short timed poses to be able to really let loose on a longer one. Get all the details you like to draw and need to get in. The foot here. That's not quite right. Well, we'll fix that later. Okay, how are we looking? Let's see, this other leg. Let's see, I think this torso comes down a little further. Maybe I overdid that. You know what, I think I did make this knee come down too far. That only comes up to about here. In fact, this line looks like it continues about here. That's another fun drawing trick, is seeing lines that sort of continue each other. The way this line of the torso eventually continues into this line of the leg. Let's see, from this, starting about here, we have the other leg. That's too much. Subtlety is what we need here. Let's see. It's kind of foreshortening. It's very tricky. It's a great opportunity to be able to work on this. This knee comes up into this calf here. Down, then out again. Well, we're going to see how that looks and correct it later if we need to. The shape of the foot, also foreshortened quite a bit. Well, I think that'll just about do it. Let's see how this looks. Everything in relation to itself. Let's see, I think I can pull this knee in just a little. It's a little bit of the butt showing there. Let's work on this torso, because I think I might have it stretched out a little too much. But let me draw in this arm before I make any rash decisions. So I have a few too many guidelines here. So let me clean that up a little. I think this... I don't know, the shoulder does come out pretty far. Let me work on getting this line from the neck in. Make sure there's a subtle downwards curve to that, and then up again for the shoulder. There's a lot of interesting angles here in the shoulder. I may have overshot. There we go. And then just about straight down and out for that bulge of the tricep, I guess. And down in. Okay, I should come up a little. Get this arm just right. I'm angling that too much. It comes just about straight down. This arm is going to look sort of pushed out and squished a little because it is laid against the body. So that's fine. Let's see. Oh no, we're out of time! Oh, darn it. Took too much time talking and fixing. Anyway, that was really fun. I hope I can do more life drawing sessions like this in the future, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been lots of fun, and it's always very educational to do this. If you do your own Croquis Cafe drawing session, I hope you guys enjoy it, learn a lot from it, and maybe show me the results. And until next time, keep it vegan. Bye, guys.